Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and today we're going to talk about the election. For real this time. I know a lot of people have already covered this, and I didn't want to, not just because of how many people were covering it, but because I wanted to give people a chance to process it. For a lot of people, this was a very traumatic election, and I didn't want to rub it in. I did enjoy the liberal tears, don't get me wrong, that was funny as fuck. But for me, this was really a case of be careful what you wish for. I didn't support Trump, and I didn't vote for him. But I'm also a realist and know that here in America, only one of two candidates is going to win, the Republican or the Democrat. And I repeatedly said that I hoped Trump would win, for several reasons, some of them political and some just because I thought it would be funny. To me, Hillary seemed like she desperately wanted war with Russia. I don't know if she just wanted to prove that she had big enough balls for the job or what, but antagonizing Putin seemed to be a game to her. Far more important to me was the Supreme Court. When asked what she would look for in a justice, Hillary didn't say a damn thing about following the law. I have no doubt that race, gender, and sexuality would have been more important to Clinton when picking a justice than the Constitution would be. We would have ended up with an SJW court, one where feelings matter more than concepts like free speech. But mostly, and I mean this as sincerely now as I ever have, I wanted to see Trump win to watch the radical left lose their shit. And while I may not have been disappointed, even I didn't expect this temper tantrum to last for a full week. A week ago today, I posted this on my private Facebook account. I wrote this before anyone knew how the election was going to go, and I meant it. If you look at the timestamp, this was written very early in the morning. I wrote it expecting that Hillary Clinton would be the president by the end of the night. If I can be serious for just a moment, I really believe that we need to get back to a place where disagreeing about politics doesn't lead to families breaking apart, friendships ending, and riots in the street. It's one of the reasons I go after SJWs. Their rhetoric, their vilification of anyone who disagrees with them is not healthy for any of us. It gave me a little hope when I saw radical feminist and proud moron Lacey Green tweet this. "Aw, Lacey, you're right. We do need to get back to being united." Fuck me, when will I learn? 3.5 hours later, when it became apparent her candidate had clearly lost, she wrote this shit. While I still believe the diaper pin is the best symbol for the radical left, Lacey is certainly in contention for the face of the movement. Lacey needs a new textbook, hers obviously has a flawed definition of fascism, but like so many feminists her age, the only time she's been told no is when she's thrown herself at men who don't want an STD, and so she lashed out with big words she's heard but doesn't really understand. These kids grew up with a president who believed in the same SJW bullshit as they do. A president who has spoken about the wage gap and threw his support behind Black Lives Matter. This is the generation of the participation trophy raised by soccer moms who are being told by psychologists that telling their kids no hurts their self-esteem. I'm not kidding. Instead of telling the child no, you're supposed to offer alternatives or distract them. And if they still won't listen, just drug the shit out of the little fucker until they stare at the wall as they drool on themselves. These assholes never learned how to lose, how to behave, or that their opinion might not be as popular as they think. Their reaction is exactly why I wanted Trump to win. I know it's a fool's dream, but I hope parents today look at what these SJW morons are doing and start rejecting the notion of building self-esteem simply for the sake of building self-esteem. It's better that future Laceys know that they aren't special and learn how to cope with losing. Maybe the next Lacey Green won't be a vapid cunt whose only real asset is a nasty STD farm between her legs, and some huge knockers. Moving on. There's been a lot of talk about who's to blame for Trump winning. Personally, I blame the Continental Congress. These are the men who set up the system we use. Except I don't believe blame is the right word. Contrary to leftist thought, these men knew exactly what they were doing when they designed the system. Pure democracy is mob rule. Mob rule is simply majority rule. As a republic, they didn't want the majority to just be able to dictate to the minority. It's really ironic watching liberals who cloak themselves in the righteousness of fighting for equality of minorities, losing their minds over a system designed to protect the minority working as intended. But their anger is misplaced. If you're upset by the outcome of the election, if it surprised you when you think it's not right because Hillary won the popular vote, the people you should be mad at are your teachers, boards of education, and parents for not teaching you how the system works and, more importantly, why it works that way. Looking forward, I see a lot of good coming from Trump's win. I have no idea if he'll govern worth a shit, but we can finally criticize our president again. From the time it first looked like Obama might beat Hillary back in 2008 for the Democratic National Primary, there's been a group of people who insist any criticism of Obama is just racist. Hell, they even labeled Bill Clinton a racist. Bill fucking Clinton, the man who was often called our first black president as a compliment. Until we actually elected a black president. It wasn't racist calling him some kind of closet Negro. It was people admiring what they believed were good qualities about Clinton, and the Obama machine labeled him a racist. When Obamacare was being debated, the Tea Party sprung up and was immediately called racist. Obviously, you have to hate black people in order to oppose Obamacare. Who cares that back in 1993, when Hillary suggested national health care, it was so unpopular that it led to the Republicans gaining control of both houses of Congress for the first time in 40 fucking years. Republicans hadn't held a majority in the House since 1952, and Hillary Care was one of the driving forces behind their win. But since it was now Obama promoting the idea, anyone who disagreed might as well be wearing a white hood. With President Trump, we can finally get back to questioning the president without it having to be a fucking race issue. And maybe, just maybe, we can get back to Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of judging people by their character rather than their skin color. Another good thing that'll come from this is that the press will start doing their fucking job again. I watched Obama's press conference yesterday where he bragged that his administration was largely free of scandal. Well, sure, but only because the press treated every scandal like it was no big deal. The IRS came out and admitted it had targeted conservative groups for special scrutiny. Lois Lerner planted a question in a press conference so she could make that announcement before it came out in a report later that same week. This should have caused massive outrage from all Americans. It was blatant misuse of the IRS against political opponents. The IRS has powers you never want to tangle with. If you end up in their crosshairs, that innocent until proven guilty shit goes right out the window. You have to prove your innocence. Them abusing any of their powers should scare the shit out of you. Heads should have rolled. But the media told you not to worry. It was no big deal. Just a couple of guys in an office in Cincinnati. Nothing to see here. Move along. Then there was a scandal with the Veterans Administration. Our vets were dying waiting to even be seen by doctors. Bureaucratic paperwork was getting shuffled around to make things look more productive than they were, and people fucking died. But we couldn't have anyone question the effectiveness of government-run healthcare, so another story just quickly went away. In 2014, despite being on video 16 times saying he had no such power, President Obama decided he could issue an executive order changing immigration, and the press immediately went to work defending him for this blatant abuse of power. As bad as that was, the real scandal came later when a judge issued an injunction and the administration flat out ignored it. Jay Johnson, who was Secretary of Homeland Security at the time, had even testified before Congress saying that the administration had complied with the judge's order. Not only did Obama abuse his power by circumventing Congress, they ignored the fucking judge's orders and lied to Congress about it. This should have been a huge scandal. But again, we saw very little attention given to it by the media and the scandal was buried. I have no illusions about the press being fair to Donald Trump, but I would rather them be too hard on our elected leaders than sucking their cock the way they have been the last 8 years. We need a press that's willing to ask hard questions and demands accountability, not one that bends over, doesn't even bother lubing up, and just begs for more. All of these and many more should have led to serious scrutiny of this president and his administration, but instead were passed off by the press as well-intended but misguided efforts of people with no real connection to the president. You know, just some guys in Cincinnati. We desperately need to get back to a press that questions our president. And if that means Donald Trump has to endure a little bit of harsh criticism that he really doesn't deserve, it really is better for us. On a final note, you idiots protesting in the street need to grow the fuck up. I'm sorry your parents didn't care enough about you to prepare you for the real world, but you're in it now and you need to adapt. If you honestly believe the system needs changed, go try to change it. This isn't like when mom wouldn't let you have a fruit roll-up before dinner. The outcome isn't going to change because you stomp your feet and hold your breath. Quit your goddamn bitching and go out and learn how and why the system works the way it does, you spoiled, simple-minded, moronic little shits. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm the Ranting Monkey, and I will see you next time.